Battlefield 2042 was launched recently, and to say it was released in a flawless state is a bit of an understatement. Despite the bugs, glitches, overpowered vehicles, terrible weapon bloom, lack of key-defining features and much more, I've been enjoying the game quite a bit. Maybe I'm just a sucker for pain, or like someone who keeps coming back to their abusive partner in this relationship. I still keep coming back to this game because, like many people say, maybe this time they will change for good. So if you're a newcomer to Battlefield 2042 and you look forward to crawling naked through the broken glass with shards sticking out of your nutsack, or you've been playing the game for a while now but can still learn some new things, then this is the video for you. Here's a list of tips, tricks and things I've come across playing Battlefield 2042. This doesn't cover every little thing, only the things that stood out to me. Also, this video was recorded using PS5 footage, so just keep that in mind. But for now, let's get on with the video. When starting Battlefield 2042, you'll have the option to choose between All-Out Warfare, Hazard Zone and Portal. If you want to play any of these games with your friends, provided you have any, then click on the R3 button to open the Socials menu. Here you can create a party to invite your friends to. You can also change the party between open and private to make it an invite-only party, much like my childhood. To leave the party, just scroll to your name and press square. On the Collection tab, you can view your specialist. Here you can view their abilities, customize their appearance and takedown animation. Next is Loadouts, where you can create your own custom loadout or change any existing ones. Just scroll down to Add New Loadout and you'll see a new loadout created. Scroll up to it and press square to rename or delete it. Pressing X will take you into the loadout, where you are now able to change and customize your weapons, gadgets and throwables. When customizing your weapons, you have the option to change the sights, ammunition, barrel and underbarrel, as well as the weapon appearance. Each attachment does different things, and on the top left it will show you which values increase and decrease with each attachment. The attachments your weapon will have when you spawn are determined by where you place them. You need to position the attachments near the center in order for you to spawn with those attachments already equipped. Vehicles can be customized as well. As you get kills with a certain vehicle, you will unlock more upgrades for that vehicle. Be sure to check regularly for new upgrades you might have missed. From the main menu, or when you load into the game, you can access the options menu by pressing options on your controller, then pressing options again. Here are tons of things to see and confuse you, but don't worry, we'll be looking at a few of the important ones. First up, we have camera shake. In the first tab called General, you'll see a setting called Camera Shake Amount. It's pretty straightforward. This value determines how much the camera will shake when there is a nearby explosion. It's set to 100 by default. I would suggest lowering it to 50, which is the lowest it can currently be set to. Next is FOV or Field of View under the Display tab under Video. This is how much of your surrounding area you can see in the game when walking or sprinting. By default, it's set to 55. The lowest it can go is 50 and the highest it can go is 105. Setting it to 105 sort of gives that GoPro fisheye lens type of look. Personally, I like to set mine to 90, as this is what I use in almost all of my shooters. So on console, we don't have much in terms of graphical settings, unlike our PC counterparts with their 120 frame rates and V-Syncs and all that jazz. With us console peasants, what you see is what you get. So let's look at motion blur. This is also pretty straightforward. It's how much of your surrounding area will blur when moving past it. Turn it up to 100 and roleplay as a drunkard running around holding a military-grade weapon. But I would suggest set it to 0 to get a clearest possible image. The same goes for chromatic aberration, film grain, vignetting, and lens distortion. These are all to make the game look and feel more cinematic, but for gameplay I would just turn them all off. That decision is however up to you. Going to HUD General, there's a setting for HUD motion. When turning left or right, you'll notice the HUD in the bottom left corner moving as you move. Turning this off will lock the HUD in place. I find that this makes it easier to read the information when on the battlefield. Then the soldier compass. If you find the compass on the bottom of the screen a bit useless or being a distraction, you can set it to only appear when aiming down your sight, or turn it off completely. On colorblind, you can change the color of in-game markers. There's also a custom setting where you can change colors to anything your heart desires. Just be aware that if you make it black, then you won't be able to see any of the lettering on the screen. Here you are able to change how your crosshair looks on screen. I wouldn't worry too much about anything here. The only difference I make is that I change my thickness to thick and the color to something that stands out a bit more, mainly a bright pink. Notice on the right hand side how the changes made will look in different environments. In the controller scheme section, you can change your controller's layout to a variety of presets. These are for your soldier on foot, when in a ground vehicle, in an aircraft, or when you're a side gunner. There's also a custom setting where you can choose your own inputs. This is done in the controller mapping tab. On foot, this is where you make changes to your aim and movement. You can change your aim sensitivity to what feels good for you, as well as the aim assist, although I'd leave that alone for now. Under movement, there's an option to toggle always use traversal sprint. When pressing L3 to sprint, your character will use the normal sprint speed. Then you have to press L3 again to use the traversal sprint, which is faster. Toggling this on will have your character always sprint at their fastest. No need for extra button pushes. Further down, you'll see an option to quick throw grenades. By default, you press up on the D-pad to pull out a grenade. You can then aim and throw it. Toggling this on will mean that you will throw the grenade the moment you press up, so you'll have to aim beforehand. Just note that there's currently a bug on the PS5 where if you throw one grenade this way, it will automatically throw the next, so it's best you leave that off until it's fixed. A fun little thing that I learned from playing Apex Legends is called skynades. This is when you or enemies are behind cover, you can aim your grenade into the air and throw it. If you're lucky, then the enemies will be too slow to realize that there's a grenade about to land on their heads. Parachute auto deploy is a useful feature if you're not yet confident in your parachuting skills. Using this will deploy your parachute a few meters above the ground when jumping off a high structure. Also a note that when you use Sundance, she doesn't use a parachute. Instead, you have to use her wingsuit ability, otherwise you'll just fall to your death. And that's it for the menus and settings. Now for a few gameplay tips and you'll be ready to fight. When on the ground, you can hold R1 to bring up the Comoros. I hope I pronounced that right. With this, you can yell a bunch of things to your teammates like need ammo or need healing, where they will politely ignore your request, probably, at least in my experience. Pressing R1 once will ping things for your team. Aiming on an objective and pressing R1 will notify your team your intention of attacking said objective. Aiming anywhere else will leave a green marker on the screen indicating a waypoint. Double pressing R1 will leave a red marker and indicates danger. Holding L1 and R1 brings up your tablet that you brought all the way from home to watch Netflix on when you're not raging war. You can call in any available vehicles, or this very cool mechanical dog thing that totally doesn't look like that Boston Dynamics robot. Especially because it has its very own machine gun. Holding R1, you'll see a list of commands to give your newfound robotic best friend. Press square to order it to a position. Double pressing square will call it back to you. And holding square will start a self-destruct timer. Goodbye, Robo-Doggo. You were the goodest of boys. Sometimes when parachuting off of buildings, you'll notice your character holding out their gun and gliding at a slow speed. Pressing L3 or the sprint button will make your character put away their weapon and start gliding faster and further. Some weapons have alternate firing modes. You'll see this when choosing them in your loadout. To change your fire mode, aim down your sights and then press down on the D-pad. And that's about everything I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you all on the battlefield. Cheers!